President, your first 100 days has far exceeded that of any other presidency in this country. Since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives. 258 million lives.
They all hated me in my first term.
You've probably assembled the greatest cabinet ever.
No, they say I wear a lot of hats. That's true. Even my hat has a hat.
And Donald Trump is a con artist.
They kiss my ass.
Thank you.
It's true. They kiss my ass.
By the way, thank you. You're welcome for the opportunity.
Thank you for that.
What happens when you compare an ego-driven billionaire with another ego-driven billionaire? The Lincoln Project just did, and Trump absolutely lost it. Forks were flying, phones were buzzing, and Trump's tantrum only made the parody even more powerful. What in this simple ad drove Trump to meltdown mode? Buckle up, because the reaction is even wilder than the ad itself. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. The meltdown started with something deceptively small, a 60-second ad. But if there's one thing the Lincoln Project knows how to do, it's turning small needles into full-on puncture wounds, especially when it comes to Trump. Their entire brand seems built on knowing his soft spots and jabbing them just enough to make sure he feels it, and then make sure the world knows he felt it.
This time it only took 2 months before your own team started stabbing you in the back and tearing each other apart. The knives are out. Elon attacking Peter Navarro and calling him dumber than a box of rocks. Everything. And while they're fighting, you're sinking. Looked at your polls lately? Don't. They're as bad as your stock market. Navarro blasting back. Howard Lutnick under fire from your own West Wing. These idiots? Please. You thought they'd be loyal to you, Donald. Are you really that naive? They're ripping you off, getting power and fame from you while leaking against you. It's sad, Donald.
For years, they've been delivering political ads that don't just criticize Trump, but dissect him. They go beyond pointing out hypocrisy or bad policies. Their ads are personal, sharp, and designed to stay under his skin long after everyone else has moved on. Now, Trump has faced attack ads before, tons of them, so you'd think at this point he'd be thick-skinned about it. Not exactly. The Lincoln Project has a way of steering clear of the loud, flashy takes, and instead delivering something so simple, so pointed, that it breaks through all his bluster and bravado. That's exactly what happened with their latest viral video, which took two of the most notoriously opinionated billionaires in the world, Trump and Elon Musk, and compared their behavior side by side. That's it. That's all it took to send Trump spiraling.
You paid your taxes every year. You worked to pay for your Social Security every year. You played by the rules. Now Republicans are changing the rules.
Millions of Americans are losing money from their retirement plans as the stock market continues its downward trend.
They don't care. Social Security is in chaos. Offices closed, support staff slashed, helplines turned off. Republicans promised lower prices, more prosperity, a fresh start. What did we get? We got screwed.
Here's the thing about the ad. It wasn't some Hollywood-level production with insane effects or dramatic narration. No ominous music swelling in the background. What you got instead was a clean split screen showing Trump and Musk in their own words and actions. Musk stuttering through interviews, awkward and unsure, while Trump rambles on in that unique way only he can. Half cocky, half completely incoherent. Musk tweeting like he's a bored teenager with way too much platform. And Trump spinning off into yet another Truth Social rant. The genius of the ad wasn't in manufacturing drama, it was in holding up a mirror. They didn't need to script insults because the footage itself carried the punchline. There was no exaggeration because there didn't need to be. Just the unflattering truth was enough. But why did the ad sting so much? For Trump, it hit him right where it hurts the most, his ego. Both men have spent years cultivating larger-than-life personas. Trump sees himself as the ultimate deal maker, a media kingpin who's always the center of attention. Musk, on the other hand, positions himself as the maverick tech genius, reshaping the future one erratic tweet at a time. In Trump's eyes, being compared to another billionaire like Musk wasn't just insulting, it was almost existential. A narcissist craves uniqueness, and to lump Trump into the same category as Musk.
Trump promised you a golden age. He promised prosperity, lower prices and higher paychecks, an end to inflation. Instead, he blew it. His tax plan? Yours goes up, Elon pays nothing. You trusted him, believed in the myth, Trump's recession, inevitable. Trump's dumb tariffs, you pay them. Seen Trump's stock market lately? It's crashing.
And we're going to become so rich, you're not going to know where to spend all that money. This will truly be the golden age of America.
Rich? Golden age.
Fumbling and awkward in his own right, was bound to make him boil over. It made them look less like titans of power and more like two kids fighting over the same sandbox, except the sandbox is Twitter. One moment in the ad really stood out, and you could almost imagine Trump's blood pressure skyrocketing as he watched it. It was a clip of Musk admitting he's winging it most of the time, paired with Trump claiming to be a very stable genius. On its face, it's funny, but if you look deeper, it's also deeply damaging to the image Trump wants to project. That comparison takes Trump's obsession with being seen as competent and completely undercuts it. The ad didn't just poke fun at him, it stripped him of the authority he so desperately wants people to believe he has, and it did that without ever raising its voice. Trump's vulnerabilities weren't exposed by insults or wild accusations. They were exposed by the sheer awkwardness of his own track record. That's what made the ad so effective. The Lincoln Project didn't need to yell over Trump's noise. They let Trump and Musk's own words and actions do all the heavy lifting. Watching the two flounder next to each other, it was impossible not to laugh. And for someone like Trump, who thrives on being taken seriously, that's devastating. The genius of the ad was in its restraint. It wasn't aggressive, it was almost subtle, which is exactly what made it hit like a freight train. For a guy who measures his success in applause and adoration, being roasted through understatement might be the cruelest cut of all, and the Lincoln Project knows this. They've mastered the art of psychological warfare with their ads. They don't just target Trump's actions, they rip into the core of what makes him tick, always finding that thin, fragile line between confidence and insecurity. This ad walked that line with precision. The meltdown became the story. That's when all hell broke loose, forks included. What does it take to make a former president throw a fork across the room? Apparently, a beautifully simple 1-minute ad from the Lincoln Project will do the trick. The scene reportedly unfolded at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump was watching the ad on repeat, muttering about disloyalty under his breath like an overworked sitcom dad who just found out no one respected his lawn mowing schedule. The room was tense, with staff nervously avoiding eye contact while Trump's frustration boiled over into what can only be described as a complete tantrum. And then it happened. The fork, yes, a real fork, went airborne. Not metaphorically, he actually hurled it across the room as if a piece of poorly cooked steak had personally betrayed him. The Lincoln Project might as well have attached strings to Trump like a puppet master, because his reaction felt like exactly what they were expecting. He wasn't just angry, he was emotional, maybe even hurt. The word disloyalty kept coming up, which made things all the more interesting. Disloyalty from whom? Elon Musk? His followers? The internet? Maybe all of the above. But it didn't stop there. Trump reportedly followed up his fine dining frisbee skills with a string of frantic phone calls, 5 of them to be exact, to Musk himself. Let's pause for a second and think about that. What do you even say on the 5th call in one day? Hey Elon, just circling back about the thing you haven't responded to yet. Still mad over here. No word on whether Musk even picked up, but the fact that Trump was so desperate to reach him paints a picture of someone who felt more than just annoyed. He felt exposed. That's what this whole meltdown was really about. On the surface, it's just a former president losing his cool over some internet trolling. But if you scratch just below that orange surface, you'll see something more significant. This reaction was all about insecurity. The Lincoln Project ad didn't attack Trump's policies. It didn't call him names or make wild accusations. It simply let him and Musk speak for themselves, side by side. And that's where it stung. Trump couldn't dismiss it as fake news because it wasn't fake. It was painfully real, and it highlighted exactly what he didn't want people to notice: his flaws, his impulsiveness, his need to be the center of attention at all times. Musk being thrown into the mix only made it worse. Here was another billionaire grabbing headlines and dominating Twitter in a way that Trump used to. It was a reminder that in some circles, Trump is no longer the main character. But, oh, the irony. The ad wouldn't have half the impact it did if Trump had just ignored it. Sure, it would have gotten some retweets and a round of applause from Lincoln Project fans, but that would have been it. Instead, Trump amplified it to a level even the creators probably didn't expect. By flipping out, he confirmed everything the ad suggested about him. His reaction became part of the story, and once that happened, it was over for him. It's hard to imagine a better advertisement for the ad than Trump throwing tableware and desperately trying to get Musk on speed dial. And then came the internet. Let me tell you, if there's one thing the internet loves, it's turning meltdowns like this into meme gold. Within hours, the story of Trump's fork-throwing freakout had morphed into a full-on sideshow. People were photoshopping him dodging forks like he was in the Matrix. Others started joking that his new social media platform should add a fork count feature to track his tantrums in real time. If the Lincoln Project's ad started the fire, then social media poured a tanker's worth of gasoline on it. Trump might have thought his reaction would silence the mockery, but instead, it skyrocketed into meme status, a place where nothing ever truly dies. If anything, they handed the ad a second wave of virality. What makes this even funnier or sadder, depending on how you see it, is Trump's obsession with loyalty. This is a man who said countless times that loyalty is what matters most to him, whether it's from people, businesses, or even entire countries. And then came the censorship. In what seemed like an attempt to bury the whole ordeal, Musk reportedly tried to limit mentions of the Lincoln Project on Twitter. It wasn't officially announced, of course, but people online quickly noticed that tweets about the ad weren't showing up in search as easily as before. Classic Streisand effect. By trying to erase the Lincoln Project from the platform, Musk actually pulled more eyes toward them, proving once again that nothing trends harder than something someone doesn't want you to see. In a twist nobody asked for, the Lincoln Project gained a whole new wave of attention, with tons of people who'd probably never even heard of them now lining up to follow their account, and all thanks to Musk himself. The best part, Musk didn't stop there. He decided to get even cleverer by creating a Twitter poll. In it, he asked users a hilariously loaded question. Who was more cringe, the Lincoln Project or CNN? Notice anything missing? That's right, himself. He didn't even include Elon Musk as an option, but the internet quickly course-corrected the oversight. Responses flooded in, overwhelmingly declaring Musk as the most cringe-worthy option of them all. Some comments were brutal, calling out his fragile ego, while others were more creative, finding ways to remind Musk that his ongoing Twitter stumbles are becoming the stuff of legend. And just like that, his poll, a poll meant to dunk on his critics, became yet another referendum on his own behavior. Spoiler alert, he lost. Badly. At every step, Musk's attempt to wrestle the narrative into his control only ended up amplifying the story. It practically played out like a tutorial on how not to handle public backlash. Everything he did fed directly into the original ad's message. Remember, the Lincoln Project didn't label Musk as an insecure billionaire for nothing. His reaction proved it. The man couldn't let an ad go without trying to wildly overcompensate, and the more he fought it, the more it validated the point. It wasn't just about the awkwardness of the tweet mix-up or the meme disaster. It was about how his responses exposed the exact kind of ego-driven behavior that the ad had highlighted in the first place. And of course, the internet did what it does best. It turned the whole thing into a circus. The Lincoln Park confusion became a meme of its own, with people photoshopping Musk and Trump into old band posters, and even fake album covers. Then there were the endless jokes about Musk's superhero meme, with captions like, "When your mom's new boyfriend makes his first PowerPoint." Even Musk's attempts to shut it all down fueled more backlash, with users gleefully pointing out how the Lincoln Project's reach was skyrocketing despite his best efforts. It was a masterclass in how the internet weaponizes ridicule, and Musk provided more than enough fuel for the fire. But here's the kicker. Musk's clumsy comeback didn't just backfire on him. It looped right back around to Trump, dragging him even deeper into the mess. For Trump, the mere fact that Musk's response validated the ad's premise, that these two billionaires are fragile, thin-skinned, and anything but the geniuses they claim to be, meant the damage was amplified tenfold. The Lincoln Project couldn't have asked for better free advertising. Their ad, which started as a small jab, had now grown into a viral moment that neither Trump nor Musk could shut up about. So instead of putting out the fire, Musk poured oil onto it. Everything from his missteps to his not so subtle attempts at censorship ended up shining a spotlight on exactly what he and Trump didn't want people focusing on. It was the ultimate self-own, an egomaniac so desperate to save face that he accidentally handed his critics their best material yet. And just like that, a simple ad that could have gone quietly viral became a headline-dominating saga. Between Trump's fork-throwing freakout and Musk's bizarre Twitter antics, this wasn't just about a political ad anymore. It was about how the two biggest egos in the room couldn't handle being exposed even for a minute. And what does this mean for Trump, Musk, and the Lincoln Project? Well, let's just say one side is walking away from this thing with a lot more points on the board than the other. This whole saga proves one thing: sometimes the simplest truths can be the most devastating. The Lincoln Project didn't need special effects or wild accusations. They let Trump and Musk's own words unravel them, and unravel they did. For Trump, seeing his clumsy rants set against Musk's awkward stumbles was enough to send forks flying. For Musk, one viral ad was all it took to churn out a parade of meme-worthy missteps. In the end, their egos were their biggest enemies, not the Lincoln Project. And if you're keeping score, Trump and Musk, 0. The Lincoln Project, 1. And the internet, undefeated.